All right, let's bring in Richard Fitzwilliams. He is a royal commentator, and he joins us now from London. Good to have you on the show, sir. I understand that the late Prince didn't really try to create a legacy for himself, but the fact of the matter is that he was the longest-serving royal consort in British history. So what is his legacy?
Well, it was a very different role that he created for himself than, for example, Prince Albert had, who was the last prince consort. In the 19th century, the monarchy had more executive power. So Albert saw state papers, attended audiences, the Queen's men and her ministers, and so forth. Prince Philip had to create a role as consort more or less from scratch, and he didn't see state papers. He couldn't stay in Clarence House, which had to move to Buckingham Palace. He couldn't give his name to his children. Things were difficult for him in the early years in the 1950s, especially since he had wished himself to have a naval career, but couldn't when the King George VI, the Queen's father's health worsened, and when the Queen ascended the throne, it was said that the world had fallen in upon Philip. But what he created was extraordinary. Firstly, there was the walking 2 steps behind the Queen. It wasn't something that came easily to him, but in the ceremonial capacity, when they attended so many events together and presided over them, I mean, this was something we started to take for granted, but it was significant. There were the over 800 organizations that he was patron or linked to, but there was his award scheme, most particularly in his work for the environment. Then he was a very active sportsman and polo, was a pilot and carriage driver. He made some of the, or helped make some of the rules for that sport, and also he had an artistic side. He had, I think, a superhuman energy, but the purpose, as he saw it, was to support the institution of monarchy and the Queen. And in their partnership of 73 years, I mean, this was a truly remarkable royal relationship.
That's his public life. Privately, what kind of influence did he have on his wife, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth?
This is a fascinating question because the answer really is that we don't know. We do know that on days they weren't together, they always spoke. We know also that he was a modernizer in some respects, but a traditionalist in others. On the other hand, there's no question whatsoever that as somebody who he was, so to speak, the head of the family, he was somebody also who was very colourful. He could be abrasive, and he was always challenging. There's no doubt that he was particularly close to Princess Anne. His relationship with Prince Charles, he sent Prince Charles to Cheam Gordonston, where he himself, having had a difficult upbringing, had thrived, and he always said he got on with it. Charles was more sensitive, and the relationship has had ups and downs. But I think Charles will also be deeply saddened by what has happened, because he saw the immense body of work that his father had done, and also the fact that as someone who accompanied the Queen on all of her 251 trips abroad, as someone who was so supportive, that was where he, I think, had a very, very substantial influence. There was a stabilizing influence, there was the modernizing aspect of him, and the fact also that he was a character. Everybody knew him, and some people did find that some of his jokes, so to speak, which I think helped keep him sane, were rather hard to swallow. But there's no doubt he will leave a very, very definite gap in British life. He retired at the age of 96 in 2017, but it is a tragedy that he didn't make his centenary, because that again, though I don't think it would have meant much to him, he hated fuss, would have been a landmark. But he leaves a very definite legacy as a personality and as a consort.
Did the British public like him, or was there a little bit of resentment towards him, especially at the beginning?
Well, I think the courtiers at the beginning strongly resented him. He was foreign, and also they thought somewhat ambitious. I think that the Queen Mother is supposed to have felt that, again, Prince Philip was rather close to his uncle Lord Mountbatten. It was Lord Mountbatten who'd arranged the 1939 meeting at Dartmouth Naval College when she met Princess Elizabeth, and she, at 13, had eyes for no one else since. The public saw a certain persona. He was the Iron Duke. He was a colourful figure. He joked that he was the world's most experienced plaque unveiler, than thousands of speeches, of trips abroad, and so forth. But these are statistics. The essence of Prince Philip, I think, was that he was totally loyal to the Queen and the monarchy, that he had absolute integrity, nobody doubted that. And also he was a man of action, as he showed in the war. He had a very distinguished war record. The Battle of Cape Matapan, he illuminated 2 Italian cruisers, which were subsequently blown out of the water, and off Sicily, he saved his ship from a German bomber.
All right. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, thank you very much for joining us. I do appreciate the analysis.